Welcome to another DragonLance Saga review episode. It is Bakukal Gilda Ember IV. My name is Adam, and today I'm going to give you my review of the Dungeons & Dragons 2024 Player's Handbook. I would like to take a moment and thank the DL Saga members and invite you to consider becoming a member by visiting the link in the description below. You can also pick up DragonLance gaming materials using my affiliate links. It's also the 40th anniversary of DragonLance. Woo, woo, woo. I don't know, that's what I do. What do you do when you cheer? So basically what that means is me and all of the contributors are going to be sharing our images, our writings, our videos or sound bites or whatever, just sharing with you, the audience, who did not want to contribute for some reason or another, even though you had 5 months and you love Dragonlance as much as we do, and you're just being lazy. Yeah, let's be honest, because you can still get it in. And that's what this little message is about. You can submit your writing, image, or video, just like the rest of us did, to info@dlsaga.com. The easiest email address you could possibly imagine. info@dlsaga.com. That's it. Send it to me. I will put it up on the website, and it will be live on November 1st with all of the others, including a very brief and, I don't know, almost antagonistic interview with Margaret Weiss, which I was a little bit, well, I'm stoked for, but, you know, I don't know. I wish there was a little more elaboration. I figured the authors, after 40 years, must be tired of answering the same tired questions, and so they just give, like, quick, like, this is my thought, and that's it, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I was hoping for more thoughts, but that's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for your time. I do genuinely appreciate it. All right, so why, you may ask, and it's a fair ask, am I reviewing the 2024 Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook when I'm running an advanced Dungeons & Dragons game right now? Because Dragonlance is played on every system that exists. Like, it can literally be, if you want to play it on Alien 2nd edition that's not even out yet, you could play Dragonlance in Alien 2nd edition. If you wanted to play it in any of the 5th edition World of Darkness games, you could do a Dragonlance Werewolf the Apocalypse rule system game if you wanted to. I don't know how that would look, but you could do it. So my point is on this channel, I've been playing Dragonlance campaign setting in every edition, except for 4th and 3rd so far, because they're my least favorite, if I'm being honest. In any case, this is not going to be a typical review because, I mean, I didn't write down a summary of the rules because they really didn't change that much. Options changed a little bit. So let's just dive into that and see what the 5th edition, actually it's 5.5, but they're calling it the 2024 Player's Handbook. So it says, unleash new possibilities. New and improved guide for the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, redesigned with 10 years of feedback from the D&D community. The essential Dungeons & Dragons rulebook is bigger and better than ever. It is definitely bigger, and I do think that this is a better version of the 5th edition handbook that they released in 2014, which I've also reviewed on this channel. Quickly, Dinah, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. What's up, Chris? How you doing, man? Ancient Joe, how you doing? Good to see you. I saw one where it was like a interview with Uncle Hickman or something like that, but it didn't strike my fancy. Like, I don't know. I've heard all of the Dragonlance, like, stories, you know, all of the interview answers, all the canned responses, all the anecdotes. Like, I've heard them all now. So there's literally nothing new they could say that gives me any reason to watch another interview. Like, unless it's like some insane secret, like, underwear party that they never said anything about before, then I would tune in. I don't know if anyone would want to see an underwear party, but I would tune in to hear about it. New character options that you'll love. Great. I'm just steering right back. Unforgettable characters with 12 core classes, 48 intriguing subclasses, and 10 distinct species. Now, I love the idea of options when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons. I don't know. They gave a lot of options. It seems like if you're brand new to Dungeons & Dragons, it might be overwhelming the amount of options that you have. I mean, I cut my teeth on I think it was the Holmes basic set. So I had like 4 options or something like that. Maybe 5 because Elf was a mage as well. It's just part of the class. And so that was an easy to wrap my brain around as a brand new player. It was easy to wrap my brain around, oh, well, this class is this, that race is that. And, very simple because it was very pared down basic set. This with 48 subclasses, 10 species, it's a lot to take in. So I could totally imagine if you're one of those people that takes more than a 2 count when you're ordering food off of a menu. First of all, you're the worst type of human out there. You should already know what you're going to order before you get to the menu board on a drive-thru. I'm saying, none of these fast food joints change their shit very often. So you should already know what you want. There's nothing worse than being in a car with someone and you're like, oh, I want blah. And then you look over at them and they're doing this. Where's the... And you're just like, it's been the same menu for 50 years. Longer than you've been alive. How can you not know what you want? Really? So anyway, I could see that happening. Totally. And that is really a huge problem for me. Don't get in my car to order food unless you know what you want. All right, stunning artwork. This is where the artwork is great. It is high quality. It's not all my type of artwork, though. And I think that's where you sort of run into a problem. Because when I imagine Dungeons and Dragons, my mind goes to 80s films or artwork where it's gritty and very sexualized and just rough and mean and horror infused and, hardcore 80s Dungeons and Dragons look is, in my mind, what the artwork should look like. The artwork in this is bubbles and butterflies and happy-go-lucky people and I don't know. That's not the type of game that I would ever want to play in. You show me artwork like that and I'm thinking of I don't know, Little Miss Pony cartoon, not a Dungeons and Dragons game. And so there's a bit of a cognitive dissonance between the artwork and the game itself. Because let's not bandy about words here. Dungeons and Dragons, at its core, is about heroes diving into a dungeon, murdering and stealing treasure, and then going back home. That's the game. They add variations on theme, but that's the game. You're a murderer and a thief. Full stop. So the whole cutesy, bubbly, happy, we all have little pets that sit on our shoulders, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, people like it, so do your thing. But there's no game that ends like that. There's no game where you're just bubbly and cute and giving each other little purple nurples, because even that would be mean. It would just be hugs. I'm going to hug the bad guy to death. Yay! And everyone just high fives together. Well, that would even be too aggressive. You wouldn't want a high five nowadays. It would just be I don't know. Well, it would a thumbs up, an elbow shake, because a fist pump's a little too violent. It's just, I don't like it. The artwork doesn't speak to me as a player, I guess is what I'm getting at. But it is quality. I'm not even playing with that. It is high quality work. I'm sure some of the artists used AI. Maybe all of it. I don't know. But I mean, I still think it looks good. All right. Fresh and engaging gameplay. Nah, it's the same shit. It's the same gameplay that you have been playing for a decade. And let's be fair, it's the exact same game you've been playing for 50 years. We like to pretend each edition is dramatically different. But if you watch my Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dareguard Keep game, and you watch me run Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen game, the gameplay itself is nearly identical. There's not that big of a difference between the mechanics, the reality of just playing the game. You're still doing skill rolls and combat rolls. In both of those cases, a skill roll in old school D&D, you want to get low. Combat rolls are always high. And so it's the exact same game. I don't know why they think it's innovative and new and newly engaging. No, it's the same game. That's why I love it, because it's the same game, but it's the same game. Let's see. Thoughtfully redesigned book with an improved layout. Yes, 100% yes. And I'm not even playing here. I love the layout of this book because it does something that I've always been super frustrated with, especially since I'm running an AD&D game right now. Like on the, and I'm going to get to it here in a second, but I'm just sort of like banding about broadly. Each class, their spells that they are capable of casting are in the class section. So you know exactly what spells a ranger is capable of casting at whatever level they're capable of casting. And then it has links to the actual thing if it's the digital, and then you have to just sort of scroll over to it if it's the book. That's amazing. Before, you had to go to a different section to see those sort of tables, if they existed at all. And then you have to like scroll through each individual like section of class of spells. This gives it to you right up front in the section where it's relevant, and it is a huge improvement. I love it. I really, really like it. And that's not the only improvement, but that's the one that really stood out to me in my head. And then it's the first of 3 revised whatever. Right now, the Dungeon Master's Guide is like being pumped up and, you know, sort of being revealed, and I'll give you a review of that. But the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide was garbage. 100% hot garbage. I've never once referenced it after buying it. It's just totally pointless. If you've ever run a game before, there's no reason to buy the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide. It does not help you to run a game. It does not help you to understand the game. It doesn't do anything. It gives you a small handful of optional rules, and that's it. And that's all I'm expecting out of the 2024 version of the Dungeon Master's Guide, because they're saying it's focused for new DMs. So there's literally no reason for me to even pick it up except for crafting, expansion, and maybe Bastions, though that's not new either. Everyone's like touting the Bastions as if it's like some grand new feature. Forts and keeps have been a thing since AD&D. It's like a thing. It's always been a thing. Everything old is new again in 5th edition. They're continuing with that whole trope. So let's get into it. Let's look at some of this stuff. So I'm only showing you the basic rules rather than the player's handbook, because the basic rules are free and the player's handbook isn't, and I would get in trouble with the copyright strike if I showed you that. So the rules are the same. The layout's the same. They just redacted all the artwork and most of the options for the player classes. But there's only a couple things that I want to showcase here in the first place. And it's not that. I clicked on the wrong thing. The stats are the same. You still have the same stats. It seems like they change the verbiage every time to something new. In this particular case, the game mechanic is a D20 tests, and that is across the board for ability checks, saving throws, and attack rolls. So it's always a D20 test. Whether you're testing against another player, you're testing against a difficulty number, it's all a test. I don't think that's the great vernacular to use for that. It sounds like a test and not a contest, because that's really what it is. Or a roll, a D20 roll, which is literally what it is. A test is like a pass or fail, which is how they're framing it, but you're passing and failing versus other things, not some arbitrary wish, you know? So it shouldn't be a pass or fail. It should be success or failure, and that's against an opponent or a difficulty number. I don't know. For me, it's not a big deal for anyone else, but for me, it bothers me. The simplified mechanics of 5th edition, they're not bad. You know, I was really railing against them originally hard when I first started playing them. The longer that I've played 5th edition, I still prefer 1st edition / 2nd edition, because they're really not that different. 5th edition and now 2024, it's the exact same game, same mechanics, same everything. It's just, you know, it's not that bad. I don't know. I think people get wrapped up in culture rather than mechanic when they think of 5th edition, and the culture is different 100%. So I get it if that turns you off. But the mechanic's not that different. It's really not. So I like that it's super just straightforward. You know, you have a proficiency number that's applied to certain roles nearly every role, and that's it. And that's based on your level, basically. It's it's sort of universal, and so it takes the idea of certain classes being easier to advance because other classes are more complex essence out of the game, which I liked, but apparently no one else did, so they removed it, and everyone's like cheering for that. It just makes everything the same, so there's no challenge for the real difference between playing a fighter versus playing a mage is in style, not in mechanic. And I don't know, I just don't see a reason to, if you're going to strip away everything that makes a wizard special versus making a fighter special, then there's no reason to have a wizard or a fighter. You should do just like what they did with the classes. I'm sorry, with the races, now species. And all they do is say, well, you got a +1 or a +2, and you just sort of add it here or there. And then if you're human, you just choose where you want to add it. So the races aren't special anymore. So it's really just aesthetics. And the classes aren't really special anymore. They have varying mechanics, but all of them have range distance weapons no matter what. They all have melee attacks no matter what. They can all heal no matter what. And they all have a version of magic no matter what. So they're really not that different when you strip away the aesthetics of it. You can add in however many subclasses you want to try to quantify the differences, but really with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you have a bland character race, a bland character class that you just have to pretend is something different, that's something more, creative or interesting, because the mechanics are pretty much exactly the same. You have varying spells, but that's pretty much it. It's very, very sort of like just tame and blah, just like it's like I don't know. It's bland. It's just bland. But some people like that, so congratulations. So I like the proficiency bonus. That was all just me just riffing on proficiency bonuses. I like that it doesn't stack and that it's very straightforward. You get X plus to X roll, based on whatever you're doing. Very simple for people to pick up. And then they give you a nice stripped down, straight up direction on actions. One thing that really actually stokes me about this edition is at the very end of all of this, you have a glossary of rules. If I can find the daggone thing. Here it is, the rules glossary. Which is amazing. I wish this was in the other editions. Like if you're playing it digitally, they always have the rule highlighted so you can hover over it and it gives you a brief synopsis of the rule. So it's very easy to play digitally. But if you have to flip through pages for a ruling, it's a pain in the ass. In this version, you just go to the glossary. It's all alphabetical. It gives you exactly what you want for every single condition, word, definition of everything. I mean, it's so great. It's so great. For new players, this is going to be indispensable, and you're going to get pissed if you have to play any other edition where it requires you to flip through pages to understand what a ruling would be or what an action is or anything. And then here's the other thing. Look at that. Climbing. That did not exist that I could find anywhere in the Player's Handbook in 2014 version. I remember distinctly in a live game trying to find a mechanic for climbing, and we couldn't find anything. There was nothing. It was just like, you just climb. You just put your hand on something and you move up. Like there was no ruling for it. There was falling ruling, but there wasn't a climbing thing. I mean, basically it's just going to be an athletics check, but the fact that they put it here and they say it's like difficult terrain, it should be, I think, harder than that personally, but still difficult terrain. Like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Why the hell wasn't in the 4th edition? I'm sorry, the 5.0 edition rather than the 5.5 edition. And if it was, why the hell can I ever find it or any of my players ever been able to find it? Like it's buried if that's the case. So this edition is awesome. I really, really love this. Yeah, it's funny because all these subclasses give you variations on a theme, but you could just do that in your head. And so when I say it's difficult for new players because there's so many options available to them, what I'm really saying is new players don't understand that it's all pretty much the exact same thing. So you're going to get little bonuses here or there, little tiny abilities that don't really fundamentally change the game at all, but it's all pretty much the same anyway, you know. And I know hardcore D&D players are going to totally disagree with that assessment. They're going to insist that not every playing character is the exact same and not every race is the exact same because one has, you know, a +1 here and the other one can see in the dark there. But it's such a small change when you compare it to all of the older editions that it might as well be the exact same. You know, that's how minimal the differences are. Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to be flippant, the difference would be how many cheeky bubbles you have floating around you. That's the difference. Because it's so just pathetic, you know, in that way. And I know there's like min-max channels and players and DM channels on YouTube that do like that, you know, like the world is ending because they nerfed this character or this species abilities, or how could we ever, you know, that's all clickbait bullshit. If you're just a player playing the game, it fundamentally does not change from 2014 version at all. Like, at all. I have more players that forget their abilities that were special, that people are complaining that they don't exist anymore or that they've changed or something, than players who are, you know, shaking their fists at Wizards of the Coast for having changed them. The YouTube version of D&D, the YouTube community of D&D is so different than the actual people playing the actual game. It's night and day. It's like the YouTube community of watching Star Wars versus actually people who just sit down to watch it. It's wildly different. You would think the sky's falling all the time if that was the case. People need to chill the hell out because the sky's not falling yet. A meteor could hit us. I don't know. It could happen. Yeah, that fast food metaphor was for you, Chris. You put on subtitles. You found insight on his own role playing. The DragonLance stuff sound can. Yeah. Well, the other thing about Tracy Hickman is he doesn't believe in rules. He's like every old school D&D developer, Gygax included. They didn't believe in the rules. They believed in the moment in the game, and so they were more concerned with having fun and bending rules or just stripping them away entirely. Ironically, because they're writing them simultaneously, that. The rules are really only for convention or contested games. The rules at home games are pointless. Like, that's how they play. And that's why you have Tracy Hickman rolling out systems like XD20 2nd edition, which I've reviewed and played a game on in this channel, where it's wildly stripped down, super simple, and it's just a basic mechanic of have fun. And that's it. That's how they play, if you've ever watched them actually play a game and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. He's just, I don't know. I'm not a starfucker type person. Sorry, I said the F word, but that's the phrase. So if there's someone that's like with a new interview, I'm usually not the type of person like run over there as fast as possible, click play and just wait and, you know, absorb it all. 'Cause it's just a person. I don't put stock in people's professions unless you're a scientist. Then I'm going to put some stock into it because it can actually change people's lives or reveal the secrets of our world. Otherwise, everything else is just sort of frosting, you know, which is delicious and can be fun, but it's frosting. Bartos, thanks for tuning in. How you doing? Sorry, I'm just catching up on people as they're coming in. Smoker, what up? Every character class is equal anymore. Ugh. Kind of how I see it. Let's see what else. C. Curtsies, 1973. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in, man. You need negative ability score modifiers back. Orc wizards make you sick. Dwarf wizards make me sick. Kender wizards make me sick. But I understand your point. And I also agree. And that's actually a really good point, too. Let's talk proficiencies really quick with this, because that is a thing in this game that they have fundamentally changed from previous editions, but not 5th edition. It's always been that way, and it's always been interesting to me. So a proficiency means you get a proficiency bonus. Whereas in older editions, in order to not have a negative, you had to be proficient in it. So in this particular case, anyone can use any of the non-weapon proficiencies, any of the skills as they call them now, whether it's religion or, I don't know, hiding or whatever. Anyone can use them, but if you're proficient in them, you have a bonus in it. Now, that's not much different than the idea of non-weapon proficiencies and weapon proficiencies in older editions, where you had a negative in it unless you were proficient in it. The difference is a cognitive one. One tells you, and first of all, I don't think you should play with skills or proficiencies. I think it's a shortcut to thinking for players. But if you do, one tells you that I shouldn't try this because I'm not good at it. And the other tells you that, oh, well, everyone can do everything, so let's just keep trying. You know, it's a huge difference in the way you approach a game because, again, it makes that every character's the same tone. If everyone has the ability to do everything, it's just some people are slightly better, then there's really no point in the proficiency bonus at all because it comes down to random luck of the roll more than it does the influence of the plus 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. That's just randomness. So, in my opinion, skills and proficiencies should be done away with wholeheartedly, and it should all be ability checks. And if you're going to add those in, then it should be a negative to start with, not a positive. Because let's be fair, if I wanted to write a sonnet or I wanted to compose a concert, I have huge negatives for that because that's just not what I'm good at. That's not what I've trained for in life. But if I tried to go hike a mountain or if I tried to design a creative campaign for a brand, well, I can do that pretty well. Not everyone can do that. So every individual has individual things that they're really good at and things that they are horrible at. That horrible is not a net zero. That horrible is varying degrees of negative depending on individual ability. So yeah, I agree. They should have negatives as well. But again, this game is not a game based on reality. This game is a game based, 5th edition specifically, is a game based on making people feel empowered. That's the difference. And it's a huge difference. So in any case, the game itself, I'm not opposed to. I think it's a fun game to play because it's not that different from AD&D or any other edition of Dungeons & Dragons. The mechanics will vary here and there slightly, but the game mechanics are the same. It's always been the same. Specifics about characters and stuff have changed and stuff, but I don't really care about that stuff. I mean, it's customized games, however you want to play them. I really enjoyed this player's handbook because it was a refreshing facelift on the original 5th edition rule set and player's handbook. It actually made it easier for people who have played older editions to onboard into this edition, and it also makes it even easier for brand new players to understand Dungeons & Dragons. And I think that's great, because as soon as new players realize that Dungeons & Dragons is a great game to play, then old school gamers like myself and some of you watching, it makes it easier for us to say, hey, you think that's great? You should try Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. You should see what the game could be. And then you sort of drag them through a game and they're like, wow, I really like the idea of firing arrows into a mass melee and not being able to pick out the one person because everyone's moving around and jockeying for position. I like the idea that if a wizard is punched in the face when they're casting the spell, that they mess up and forget the spell. Like, that makes sense. And some spells should take longer to cast than others because they're more powerful, and everything shouldn't just be based on a single action, no matter what it is. And it's just so many actions. I mean, you have your move action, your standard action, your bonus action, and your reaction in all of this, which, all right, you want to give players options to play in the game, but then you pile on a bunch of extra abilities and it becomes confusing. Like, well, what can I do? How many actions do I get? I mean, I can't tell you how many players that I've had that have played 5th edition a lot, and they still are at a point where they're looking at their character sheet going, what can I do? That should not be a thing. That should never be a thing. The circumstance that you find yourself in and your character should dictate what you do in a moment, not staring at a character sheet going, which action can I take right now? that would most benefit me in this moment? I mean, it just baffles me that that's the type of thing that we run into nowadays, which maybe it was just the people I played with when I was younger, but we never ran into that, ever. Even if we were trying to just like talk our way out of a situation or what, it just doesn't matter. We were never sitting there for minutes just going, looking up stuff. Nope. It's just like, what is happening here? To be fair, it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. So yeah, I think this is a wild improvement over the original version of the Player's Handbook. And yes, I know I'm looking at the free rules for people who are popping in now. I can't show you the actual Player's Handbook, though it's not that different. Solo Wolf, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's see what else we got here. Keith Crow, thanks for tuning in. Do you think this new Player's Handbook still works with the existing adventures? Oh, 100%. The game mechanics has not changed at all. Some of the abilities have been tweaked slightly. Some people are given slightly different ways of doing things. But yeah, this is 100% backwards compatible. But I would argue that all D&D is backwards compatible because it's all the same. It's really not that different. Like, you have different abilities in slightly altered game mechanics and in some rare cases brand new game mechanics, but that can all be engineered really easily on the fly by any DM worth their salt at a game table. So it's just, there's no real reason for new additions, but also you can definitely play older modules or adventures with this edition. And I'm going to. My next 5th edition campaign I'm running next is the Tyranny of Dragons. It's going to be set in the 5th age of Kryn after the Dark Disciple trilogy. So all of the gods have returned. I'm going to give my players full carte blanche for the first tier of play of the 2024 Player's Handbook. And then I'm going to open up every player option to them after that point. But it's going to be about the resurrection of Takesis. And so I'm going to be using the 2024 rules with an old adventure, or 2 adventures really, put together. And that's going to be it. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun because the system itself is not what's important. The rules themselves are not what's important. It's the story, the collaboration of players and DM, and just the fun of getting together and just goofing, just getting into a game. It's going to be dope. I think THAC0 is way easy. Can people not do math? Okay, let's say your THAC0 is, your 2-hit armor class 0 is 12. Let's just say it's 12. And you have an enemy with an armor class of 4. 16 is what you got to roll over. Was that hard? Let's say their armor class was -2. I'm sorry, it was actually the opposite. So I'm actually proving that it's more difficult. You subtract the whole number from it. So if it's 12 and theirs is 4, then it would be whatever 12 minus 4 is, 8. And then if it's a negative number, then you just add it to it. And it's that simple. It's adding and subtracting basic numbers to a whole number. It can't be easier than that. And that's all you do normally with this game. So I just never understood it. Hey, Cytheros, how you doing, man? Jeff, what up? Thanks for tuning in. You guys are tuning in at the end because that's kind of it. That's all I got. That's kind of my review. Thank you for tuning in and watching it. So here's the bottom line. Do you need to buy this edition? No. Does it help with learning the rules or to locate rules? Yeah. Are some of the players' options interesting? Yes. But do you need it? No. There's basic free rules that I was just showing you on the website that are the exact rules in the Player's Handbook. So the only reason why you would need to buy the Player's Handbook itself is if you want every option from every class. That's the only reason. Other than that, just use the free rules, use the books you're using already, and have fun playing a game that is incredibly engaging and entertaining. And that's it. So, thank you so much for tuning into my review of the Dungeons & Dragons 2024 Player's Handbook. What did you think of the adjusted manual? Because that's really the only change. Or the new player options, which slightly adjusted some of the powers on some of the creatures or presented new information to you. Because ultimately, this is a culmination of the Player's Handbook and Xanathar's guides. And I think there's like 2 books in the Player's Handbook that they just sort of take information from, make slight adjustments to, and then present it as if it's like a new edition, which it's not. So yeah, that's kind of it. Hey, Jason. Yeah, you kind of did. But that's okay. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. All right, well, let me know in the comments below. You can always shoot me an email at info@dlsaga.com. And also, I would like to take a moment and invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga. Thank you so much for joining in that celebration. So until next time, for Dragonlance Saga, my name is Adam Slanjavar. Yeah, there's actually rules in it, the other dude. The old Player's Handbook was so stripped down.